Alright guys, we're back with the Wild Land Battle Showdown. It's going to be myself on Slaanesh facing off against the Tomb Kings. Azazel is going to be making a grand appearance here on the channel. You don't see him too often, but he's a pretty fun character. Very fast, very sneaky, and certainly a decent assassin character, but a bit of a glass cannon. I mean, yes, he does have 55 melee defense, but he can get the business if you're not careful. Now, as far as my build goes, we have sneaky ambushes all over the battlefield. This is a bit of a tricky map. It's really big, it's really open, and obviously range units like Ushapti Grapos, Caskets, Screaming Meme Catapults, Boner Giants, whatever. They're all going to be pretty damn effective on this map, so I wanted to take some precautions and start out in the woods, and then advance on my opponent's army and try and clamp down around their forces. Now, for the build, it is going to be Chaos Warriors with Hell Scourges in the front line. Now, they're pretty vulnerable against some of the artillery pieces, so let's say Screaming Memes or, DJ Kotep on his booth, for example. But these Chaos Warriors will absolutely dominate pretty much any Tomb King's infantry in the front line. I think the only thing that could maybe put up a fight against them would be Kepra Guard. But even still, they'd probably trade pretty well into Kepra Guard, considering that you're going to be spamming the Slaanesh magic, which is going to give them melee attack. So, yeah, Chaos Warriors of Slaanesh into the sunset, looking to press down my opponent's army. We do have some devoted Marauders of Slaanesh with spears to flank around the sides of the formations and try and get in the backfield and deal with cavalry and monsters, and a couple fast cavalry units. So I think that Seekers of Slaanesh are my preferred choice here. Tomb Kings do have a fair amount of big armor, right? You have the Constructs, you have Necropolis Knights, you have Ushapti Grapos, a lot of big heavy-duty stuff. Now, Hellstriders of Slaanesh do have anti-large, but they lack armor piercing. Yes, they would trade maybe effectively into Skeleton Horsemen, Nehakara Horsemen, but I just feel like Seekers pack such a nice punch, and I've had so much success with them lately, so that is the reason why we got them. We got two of those, and on the other side, a little bit of sneaky. We'd have one unit of Hellstriders, just because I had enough money to get them, and it's the anti-large variant, figuring they would be a little bit more useful at chasing down Ushapti Grapos, dealing with enemy mobility, and they are going to be backed up by some Exalted Demonettes of Slaanesh, which, you don't need a ton of armor piercing in the infantry department against these guys, but they're fast. They have 54 speed. They can keep pace with Ushapti Grapo and are pretty much a lawnmower of whatever they can catch. So that is it for my army. And now for my opponent, classic defensive formation here, the dreaded land battle action. Going to be coming in with the Spear Box, Ushapti Grapos, Casket of Souls, and Tomb Scorpion. Interesting choice there. And Ark in the Black is going to be rocking Spirit Leech as well as Abuna. A good solid choice, honestly. Spirit Leech can snipe my characters, and if I bring anything of value, for example, like these Demonettes, that's a hardcore Buna target for sure. But yeah, it's a big open map, and we'll do a little bit of fast forwarding while we do posture here. So Azazel and two Furies up in the sky as well. I figured Furies would be good for a little bit of disruption, but I see an opportunity here. My opponent does come out with double Necropolis Knights, actually, which were hiding in the trees. So I was like, okay, let's test the waters. I'm not quite sure how this duel's going to go, but I figure, Chaos Furies of Slaanesh do have good armor piercing. So let's get them around. Let's debuff these Necropolis Knights, get my ambushing Hellstriders and Demonettes out of the woods, and go for the kill here. So we do pop the debuff. A little bit off on the timing there, but even still, it's going to be debuff for another 22 seconds. And we do send in Azazel. So he's going to be landing in there. He's got some cool looking attack animations, doing some Dragon Ball Z shit, flying around. And overall, the amount of damage the Necropolis Knights is taking, pretty respectable. However, my opponent does respond with a nice, I believe, Spirit Leech. Yeah, so he starts Spirit Leeching Azazel, and we get the full surround here. So the Chaos Fury is going to be collapsing, Hellstriders of Slaanesh coming in, and Seeker. So pretty huge ambush on my opponent's army. However, one thing I didn't anticipate was Ark in the Black's, defensive capabilities. Liber Mortis going down, giving physical resist, which won't help against a lot of the units, but it will help against some, like the Hellstriders. And also the Skeleton Summon, which is going to be buffering a lot of my units. And the Necropolis Knights are tanking pretty well. I was actually really surprised. We used a Lash of Slaanesh right there, and the reason why we did that is, we don't really care about killing these skeletons, but more importantly to get the melee attack buff. And I suppose a lot of the damage from my opponent's army was coming from the Grapos on the other side, and you can see we're pretty behind on value. One of my Hellstriders is Slaanesh broken. Now we do have the Exalted Demonettes on their way in, and I'm actually taking a big beating here. However, we do some damage back. Azazel has gotten some good work in on the Necropolis Knights, which are now crumbling, and the Demonettes are going to be charging across. And they'll be doing some big work. They for sure hit hard. And they're a generalist unit. They're not like anti-infantry or anti-large per se. They just have good combat stats, and 56 melee attack is going to be connecting. They're charmed, lowering the melee attack of these units, but I was getting a little bit nervous about Azazel, and I did see that bounce of power kind of looming over my head. And when I say this is a big map, I wasn't kidding. That ambush, I put a lot of marbles into that, and now the Chaos Warriors really need to pay their dues, as they are getting bombarded by the old Casket of Souls back there. But the other Seekers do get around the backside of the map, and with 100 speed, you can really sneak up on your opponent here. So we get a good engagement. However, he does have some spears nearby, so, you know, clever girl here, keeping the old spears, protecting the Ushabti Great Bows. I'm not quite able to lock them down. My opponent does detach these Necropolis Knights and is going to be pulling back to hunt down my Seekers, which I can hopefully just maneuver away with. Now, over here we get a bit of a duel of fates. We do get Azazel versus Arkan, which I was happy about this, but one thing I didn't consider is that Arkan, like, Azazel's actually infantry size, and Arkan the Black is a chariot with a bonus for its infantry, and, you know, Azazel doesn't really have armor, so I was taking more damage than I expected in this duel. However, Fascination active, Acquiescence active as well. Azazel is getting some good work in there, and I was pretty happy with this. However, a nice rear charge going to be coming in from the Necropolis Knights. Those bad boys screaming across, and old Azazel, I tried to escape the last second, but unfortunately I do get caught. And that's going to be some big fat damage there. So yeah, certainly sweating bullets, guys. Very, very behind to the bounce of power. You can see it's about 60-40, but like my main line hasn't arrived yet either. So, like, you know, when my warriors start to really grind through and press into his lines, that's when I'm hoping to get a little bit of value back in this game here. But Azazel looks like he's going to pay the iron price. I do pull back the Exalted Demonettes of Slaanesh to help out. They did take down the other Necropolis Knights, which was pretty awesome. And Azazel trying to squeak away here. 666, the mark of the beast, but I don't know if he's going to get away. We pop Tempter, which gives him 20% ward save, but it was too much damage. And good night, Sweet Prince. You know, he'll be back. You know, should have brought Sigvald. But you know what? Azazel is pretty rad. Right as I say that, he takes like a very shameful dive right there. But I felt like if I had used him a little bit better, he could have accomplished a lot more. I was a little bit sloppy with him. I assumed he was tankier than he was, but yeah, he took that beating like a champ. Now, Chaos Warriors obviously dominating, right? The Spear unit's doing basically no damage against the Chaos Warriors in the fair fights, so my opponent's entire front line is going to be folded here. And we do have 4 of these Chaos Warriors. We also shut down the Casket of Souls temporarily with the Hellscourge boys, and we still have a fair amount of units to fight here on the battlefield. We have the Spear units, and here are Seekers of Slaanesh. We're able to catch the Great Bows in open field, and these are the Chosen of the Gods, which are a pretty high value unit. Spirit Leech, of course, going to do some nice damage. Not as much as a Buna would do, but it's still pretty respectable. But if we can get these Ushabti Great Bow down, that's going to be taking a ton of pressure off my warriors. Kind of my mindset right now is I need to kill everything my opponent has that can possibly deal with my warriors. And if I can do that, I felt like I could just grind through all the skeletons, and Arkan probably would take too long killing these warriors as well. Demonettes, absolute raid bosses. Honestly, I think Exalted Demonettes are one of the better elite units in the game. Their speed, their stopping power, and yeah, they just do a lot of work. 1,000 value cutting through the Great Bows. And now I saw a little bit of an opportunity. I saw Arkan the Black sitting here a little bit smug. I lost my Lord, my opponent's ahead. Probably getting a little bit comfortable, but I had 2 Slaanesh army abilities. I had Fascination, I had Narcissism. So I had the ability to slow down Arkan the Black here and snare him in place. So I'm just kind of setting up a little bit of an ambush here as the Ushabti summon does go down from my opponent, which is going to be occupying my Devoted Spears. But now we move in for the kill. So the Demonette's going to be coming in for that bread. Arkan tries to move, but we do use the debuff here. So Narcissism is active. And Homeboy's only got 1,600 HP. These Demonettes hit so hard. They have 54 and 54 for their stats, and you can see Arkan is getting that bread buttered super hard by these Demonettes. So I was very happy with this. I felt like this was an opportunity maybe for a comeback here. Currently at 700, 569, that's what she said. The blessed number of Slaanesh kind of mixed in there somewhere. And overall, Arkan is going to be having a hard time escaping. I actually did, I believe, no, I think I just used the Narcissism, and yeah, I didn't have any other forms of snares. But he does go down there, and that was pretty big. And on top of that, we do have the Warriors starting to win their fights. All these Skeleton Spears pretty much getting KO'd. Tomb King's running out of infantry, and the Seekers that I did retreat from this side that were having a bit of a hard fight went back into the trees and then looped back and around this way, and did move in to get on top of the Casket of Souls, which these things are just super squishy. 15 melee defense. Seekers should be able to get them, and we get the Warriors moving in, and we're just kind of pushing the Casket. You see how we're like running from it, but also getting some attacks on it. It was a bit of a weird interaction there, but looking a little bit bleak, honestly, for the forces of the old Tomb Kings. That was such a weird game. It just went from like me just being so far behind to just suddenly just taking it over. And you know, it's kind of the nature of Slaanesh. They're fast, furious. They lose hard, they win hard, you know. And overall, these guys are crumbling. Arkan the Black is dead. The Casket is down, and my opponent taps out. And the bounce power was pretty massively my favor at that point. So GG, well played. It was a fun game. You know, Blue Reach River is a pretty brutal map to play against Tomb Kings on. If they're going to be sitting back and just bombarding you with artillery, that could be really nasty. And you know, I didn't really understand the pick of the Necropolis Knights, but I think I can see why you would bring them if you're expecting warriors, because the sword and board Necropolis Knights are actually really exceptional at killing infantry. So if they had had the opportunity to go after my warriors, it could have been a bit of a scary game for sure, but thankfully I was able to kind of occupy them on the side. Azazel still got 1,700 value. I'm not used to playing with him. I think he could have done a lot better. If I had a little bit more finesse, a little bit more cautious, a little bit more hit and run rather than saying sustained combat. But the ambush in the beginning ended up doing okay. It could have been worse. Seekers are just badass, of course. One of them got wrecked, but the other one getting 2,400 value. Demonettes at 1,800, not bad at all. For my opponent's army, Tomb Scorpion, I guess it just crumbled out there at the end. It would have just basically been dragged down by all my units. Casket did okay. Great Bows, nothing too crazy. Ark of the Black certainly carrying his weight here at 2,500. But anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. Let me know if you want to see more land battles. I think it's fun to mix them in every now and then, kind of a throwback to the days of old. And actually thinking of doing some land battle tournaments coming up here soon. Could be fun. So we'll see. Take care of yourselves. That's it for tonight. Slaanesh bless. And that's what she said. Take care.